Well, welcome to the podcast today. My name is Jeff. I'll be your host. And my guest today is a returning guest. He is no stranger to those of you who have followed the podcast on a regular basis, or to those of you who watch the First Century Foundation's television show. Isaac Karasenti is a tour guide extraordinaire from Haifa, Israel. And Isaac, it's great to have you back with us today.
Thank you very much, Jeff. This is my pleasure.
Well, Isaac, I introduced you as a tour guide extraordinaire. Also, our very good friend. We have spent a number of days and hours together in Israel. But being a tour guide in the last year and a half or so has not been all that extraordinary a task. Tell us a little bit about what's been happening in the tourism industry in Israel.
Okay, thank you for asking, Jeff. Wow, this is a tough question. You know that tourism in Israel is dead since March of 2020, when we decided to close the borders to Israel, to close Ben Gurion airport, and not to allow any tourists to come to Israel. In March 2020, we thought maybe this will take a month or two, maximum 3 months, and then back to business. Never happened. And then, we lost our jobs, we lost our incomes within overnight. So we came to the government and said, you need to do something to support us. Our government, in the very beginning, didn't want to give us any help. They say, no, tour guide is not a profession, you can do something else. To make a long story short, eventually the government decided to give some help to tour guides in Israel. They began to pay us like minimum wage every month until July of 2021. Okay? And then they said, okay, from July 2021, we will make what we call a pilot. So they said, we're going to open the sky only for 600 tourists per month. So every month we will allow up to 600 tourists to come to Israel. We said, how come? It's ridiculous, because in 2019, for example, we had in Israel 4.5 million tourists in that year. So you can make the calculations, 4.5 million divided by 12, you see how many people came to Israel every month. So 600 every month is nothing.
Yeah.
And they limited it that you can come only in a group, and a group is up to 30 people. So you can have maximum 20 groups a month in Israel. So it's ridiculous, because we are more than 12,000 guides in Israel. You allow only 20 groups a month. It's ridiculous. And then the government said, okay, now because we open the sky, then you don't get any more help from the government. And then they said, okay, only from people who are older than 45 years old, they will get some help. If you are younger than 45, no more. And then they started to cut. So from July, we're talking about minimum wage. So from July, they cut 15% from that. August, another 15 more percent, and September, that's the last month that they give something. And then we came to the government, our organization, and said, listen, this is not our fault that we are unemployed. You decided to close the sky. You close the borders. You don't give us any option. How can we make a living? We say we can take example from our neighbors. You see, for example, what is going on in Cyprus. You see what is going on in Greece, in Italy, in Turkey, for example. Over there, between waves, between the peaks of the waves, they decided to open for tourism. And then our government said, no, tourists can bring the disease to Israel. We say, how come? Let's take example from Greece. All over the world, there are millions of people who are vaccinated. So why not to open Israel for people who are fully vaccinated? If not, okay, PCR test. Okay, every tourist that come here must do the PCR, and if you're negative, let them in. The government didn't want to listen. And from beginning of August, when we see the beginning of the fourth wave in Israel, they decided to cancel this pilot as well. So from August, nothing at all. We had a meeting with our Minister of Tourism and our Minister of Finance. They came with an excellent solution. They say, okay, all the tour guides in Israel, there is no way how we can help you. So they advised us to quit guiding and to find other jobs. Like what? To be taxi drivers, bus drivers, truck drivers. Nowadays, for example, Ministry of Tourism is offering us, tour guides in Israel, to go and to make a bus driving license. It costs money. So they're willing to pay the cost of this project, and they say you can become to be a bus driver, but you have to commit yourself for a year to work in one of the bus companies in Israel. So this shows you the situation. If the Ministry of Tourism encouraging tour guides to quit guiding, you can understand what is the situation here in Israel.
Well, we are we're hoping beyond hope, optimistic that maybe by December things will have progressed enough that perhaps they will begin to let groups in again. I mean, this pilot project that's happened over the last number of months was kind of our glimmer of hope, and we sort of jumped on that. Our travel agent came to us and said, hey, I have an approved tour scheduled for December 5th to the 14th. Will you lead the tour? Will you come? And of course, when Avi asked me, I said, on one condition, I have a friend who I want to be the guide because, he hasn't worked in a year and a half. And so we did secure your services. You had to sort of, I think, juggle your schedule a bit because it was hard to fit us in, but
yes, very difficult.
Yeah. Very difficult.
Yes.
So we have a tour kind of on the books for December 5th to the 14th, and we're going ahead with the planning because we're praying that by the end of this next sort of wave that things will improve enough that we can go. The interesting thing, Avi was sharing me about the pilot, that all of the thousands of tourists who came during this pilot project, there was not one case of testing positive for COVID-19 among any of the tourists,
yes,
among any of the guides, among any of the
yes,
bus drivers. It
yes,
was totally 100%
correct.
safe,
Yes,
clean,
yes,
everything. Yeah. So because of that, we feel like that if things do begin to improve, that we'll be able to go ahead. So this tour, just if you're listening, if you're watching, we are accepting deposits for the tour. We have some people already committed. I'll be co-leading the tour with my wife and also with Reverend Dr. Bill Morrow from the Pentecostal Assemblies of Canada. It's going to be great if we can go. And here's the thing: if for some reason the tour can't go forward, we certainly will be rescheduling for a time. Early next year would be the hope. And so, we're just kind of really going to push and promote this for the time being until, all hope is taken away. But at this point, we're moving forward. And Isaac, we're looking forward to have you as our guide again. Always a joy, always a pleasure. And so, Now, you've talked a little bit. We joked about this last week when we were chatting. You said about the Ministry of Tourism being willing to train you as a bus driver. If you went and did that and tourism came back, you could actually you could be a one-man band. You could drive the bus, you could guide the tour, you could do the whole deal, right?
Yes. Guiding and driving. Yes.
There you go.
Yes.
Anyway,
Right.
we'll see what happens there, but Isaac, the situation in Israel right now. Talk to us just a little bit about the fourth wave and how it's impacting society again. There, we talked to you earlier in the summer, and there were like one or zero cases per day some days.
Yes.
Now, because of the Delta variant, it's gone up considerably. What exactly is happening there?
Because of this Delta variant, and there are two problems. Now is this Delta variant, and another problem, we have many people in Israel that refuse. No matter what happens, they refuse to get vaccinated. Tell you, in Israel, we are 9 million people. 9 million people. We are a little bit more than 6 million adults, plus 3 million children. So when we talk about the 6 million adults, we have 1.1 million adults that refuse to get vaccinated. And this is a big problem. This affects the entire population, because the Ministry of Health keeps saying that if all the adults in Israel, or at least if more than 95% of the adults in Israel will be vaccinated, every new variant will not affect us badly as it is right now. With children, no problem, because from the age of 12 years old and older than that, we have no problem. The problem is this 1.1 million adults that refuse to get vaccinated. And they wanted to make some laws against them, but because of democracy, so you have to give rights also for the minority. We cannot. So the government offered money for people, to go and to get vaccinated. These guys refused. So right now they're trying to do something else, like soon they're going to open the sky for Israelis to fly overseas. So they're going to make like a new law that only if you're fully vaccinated, then you can fly out from Israel as an Israeli, that you can go on vacation to Europe or the States. If you're not vaccinated, you cannot fly out of Israel. Or another law like to go to a movie theater or to see or to a cinema. Only people who are fully vaccinated can get in. So the idea is, to limit the options for people who refuse to get vaccinated. So the idea is they can go only, to go to supermarket or to go to work and back home. So this maybe eventually will put enough pressure on them to change their mind and to go and to get vaccinated. But I tell you, even now, you see, it affects, many people in Israel. But general speaking, life in Israel, is almost as usual. Like if we talk about high tech has no damage. They continue to work full time. If not from the office, then the engineers, they work from their homes. Industry, right. Like every industry, everything is usual. Factories are working in Israel. The ports, business as usual. So people go to work and back from work, and even the hotels. We don't have any tourists from overseas, so they decided to open for Israelis. So nowadays, about 90% of the hotels in Israel are open, and I tell you what, they are almost fully booked, because for many of the Israelis it is difficult to go overseas. So they prefer to spend their vacation in Israel. Mm-hmm. So this is good for the hotels in Israel. Some hotels, like in Nazareth, for example, or in Jerusalem, are still closed because they work only with tourists and not with Israelis. Yes.
Interesting. Well, it is quite a situation there. Now, the other thing that Israel has been that everybody's watching Israel for is that they were the first to approve this third booster shot. And
yes.
Initially it was for, the elderly, for those who were, immunodeficient or had other sort of underlying issues. But now, the third booster has been given to. I think the last time we talked, you were getting yours the very next day, and they were
Yes.
going to be opening to sort of 40 and up. I heard last week that they were open to 30 and up. What's the situation now with the booster shot in Israel?
From yesterday, for everybody. From yesterday, it's open for
Everybody.
everybody from 12 years old and up. For everybody. They want by next week to vaccinate more than 50% of the population for the holiday. And I think it's very good because, they made some serology test. And you see people who had only two shots. After half a year, you see the serology in their blood went down to 9 or 10. 9 or 10, that means you have no protection against this virus. And after the third shot, you see the serology in their blood went up to 2,000, 2,300. So now the body is fully protected, not only against Delta, against all other possible variants that may enter Israel. So me personally, I think this is a genius idea to give this booster, this third shot for the entire population. Yes, and you see it nowadays, the people in Israel, they cooperate in 100%. You should see the lines, in the centers when people get the third booster. Everyone that I talk to, yeah, we made an appointment to going to get the third shot. No problem at all, except these 1.1 million adults that refuse to get any vaccination.
Yeah. And when you have that number of adults, there's also many children that are involved in that equation as well, right?
Yes.
If the parents won't, the family doesn't, and so that can be problematic as well. I do want to be careful. People watching, people listening. Of course, I personally believe that it is your choice whether you get a vaccination or not. It's a very, very difficult situation, sort of, for us to be in terms of helping people navigate this. And of course, we feel like those decisions not to be vaccinated could have impact, on the rest of society, which in many ways is problematic. Doesn't seem fair. Some of those kind of things. However, like your government is being careful not to legislate. I think governments around the world are struggling with that very same thing. And in a democratic country, we've I guess always had a group of people that are suspicious of vaccinations, feel like that there's some reasons why maybe they shouldn't do those things, and so on. So just, if you're listening, we understand that everybody has an opinion, and we certainly don't want to kind of ostracize anybody, but there are some ramifications, I guess, to the greater society when something like this is on the table. It's difficult because I guess we have short memories in some ways. Vaccinations in the past have totally eradicated diseases, illnesses, and but people are struggling with this one because it came so quickly, I think, and there's all of these reasons. But anyhow, I guess I digress a little bit. I wanted to ask you about school. I know that in Israel they're waiting, hoping that school will start as normal. Has there been any other decision made regarding that in light of this fourth wave?
Yes. The schooling year starts in September the 1st. And right now, they are going to open it on time. What they do, there's something clever.
Okay.
They check all the children. All the children, you have the quick test that you can do at home. And all the parents already got this
Okay.
kit, and they have to check their kids. We want to believe that parents will be responsible, that if your kid is positive, you will not send your kid to school, although you have to go to work. So we want to believe that people will not try to cut edges, as we call it, and if the children are positive, they will stay at home. Negative, they can go to school. And now there is like a very big campaign in Israel, for children, that explain the children that this is for their benefit to get vaccinated, like in order to protect grandpa and grandma, because kids start to understand that even if they're sick, nothing bad will happen to them, but this can affect their grandparents. Nowadays in Israel, there is a very big campaign,
Yes.
like in the eyes of the kids, that encourage kids to get vaccinated. And I can tell you, vast majority of the kids, you see on television, they are very happy to go to get this vaccination. But we have another problem with teachers. This is amazing, because 33% of the teachers in Israel refuse to get vaccinated, and they refuse to make PCR tests. And this, my kids are all adults, but
33%.
I don't know if I would have kids that will have to go to elementary school or high school. Honestly, I don't know what I would do. Imagine to yourself, 1/3 of the teachers refuse to get vaccinated, and they don't want to do the PCR tests. This is a very big problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this pandemic has been a challenge for all of us around the world, and it's one of those things that uh, probably is not going away anytime soon. However, we I think have more hope today than we did 6 months ago or even a year ago, that we will begin to manage this. I think that there's hope there. Let's circle back and talk about the tour a little bit, because we are still 3 months, a little more than 3 months away from the tour happening December 5th to the 14th. And so, we want to encourage people who are listening that this really is something that still could move forward. We could see, a drop in numbers. We could see a real change in Israel by late October, early November, especially if you guys lock down during the holidays. I think that probably is something that you're hoping won't happen, but if it did, perhaps that will give an opportunity for the country to bounce back a little quicker. What do you think about that? And then we'll talk a little bit about
I
the tour itself.
I tell you, I have a very good feeling for December, because I believe that by the end of September, beginning of October, after the holidays, and with this booster, and whether we go for another lockdown, yes or not, I have a good feeling. I think that by October, we can go back to 0 new cases a day. And then I think that this time the government will open the borders. Now we started to understand that this COVID-19 is not going to disappear. Now in Israel, we started to understand that we have to learn to live with this COVID-19. We cannot defeat it. It will not go away. So we have to learn how to live with this virus. And Jeff, I tell you the truth, for December, me personally, I have a very good feeling. I believe that if we go to 0 cases a day, now, and government understand the importance of tourism to Israel, to the economy, they will open the borders, I believe, even from November. Even if they go back to the old pilot, like in July and August, Excellent. You know what? Even now I say,
Hmm.
even if they will agree for 6, 7, 8, 900 people a month, it's better than nothing.
Yes. And the good thing is, our tour is already on the schedule. It's on the books. It's been approved, provided provided the situation turns around. So, well, if you're watching, you're listening. What you need to know is that there are a number of protocols that will be in place. You'll, of course, you'll have to be fully vaccinated. You will have to have a negative test 72 hours before departure on the 5th of December, and then another negative test when you arrive in Israel. They will do, I believe, two tests at the airport. They'll do a serology test as well as a PCR test when you arrive, and then we move to the bus. And what I've been told is that they're hoping that by December there will be a pinprick test that they can have the results back within about a half an hour, which means by the time you get your luggage and get on the bus with Isaac and Bill Morrow and myself, we'll have all of our results and we can go and begin to tour the land. So this is going to be a great time together. We have a great itinerary planned. We'll be going to Caesarea the day we arrive, staying in Isaac's hometown of Haifa on our first
Yes.
night, which is actually something I've never done on a tour. I've never stayed in Haifa, so you're excited because you get to go
Yes.
home that night, right?
Now I'm very excited to show you my hometown.
There you go. There you go. From there, we'll move on to the Galilee. We'll walk in the footsteps of Jesus, and we're also planning a little side trip up into the Golan Heights and to Banias. There's some great new discoveries that have been made there at Banias, right in front of the cave. Isaac, have you been
Yes.
to see the
Yes.
the ruins of the
Yes.
church there?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Can't wait to have you tell us all
Yes.
about that.
And I have great photographs.
Ah, good, good.
What they found at Caesarea Philippi is amazing.
Awesome, awesome. Well, we're looking forward to that. And then, of course, down into Jerusalem for 4 nights. And, of course, in Jerusalem, everywhere you look is something historic, something that we can learn from. We'll be visiting the southern steps of the temple. We'll be visiting the archaeological park there, the Ophel, and so many other places, the Via Dolorosa, and so on and so forth. But you need to come, you need to be a part of this tour. One of the things I'm excited about is on the very last day, we have a couple of options. And if you're interested in adding the Judea and Samaria option, we will be, for those who sign up for that optional day tour, going into see Shiloh and an overlook of Nablus with Mount Ebal and Mount Gerizim. Isaac, we've been there with you and done a television show there, but I've never had the opportunity to take a tour group. So we're really looking forward to that as well. Maybe just make a little appeal here. Talk to people about why they should come, and how life changing and impactful that this can be.
Yeah, I think that every person, at least once in a lifetime, must come to Israel, and it's not a cliche. When you come to Israel, believe me, this is going to change your life completely. You will get connected better to the Bible, to the scriptures. You see how the Bible comes alive. It's not just a story. You see, the Bible will come alive. You will get connected to the sites. You will see that the stones, the ruins, will start to talk to you. And then I promise you, you will return back home as a new person. And after the tour, when you will return back home, when you will read the Bible, it will never be the same for you. That's, I guarantee.
I agree. This is why we do these tours. We love to give people the opportunity to have that kind of experience. Now, Isaac, you've been tour guiding for many years, and this is probably an unfair question because I'm sure they're all your favorites. But for you personally, what's the site that you enjoy teaching people about the most? Pick one.
Jeff, all the biblical sites, all the biblical sites are my favorite. And you know what? I will answer you with a question. Suppose that you have 10 children. I will come to you and say, Jeff, who is your most favorite child? You have 10. Give me one. Can you choose only one who is your most favorite child? Of course not. For me, I tell you, the Bible is the most important thing in my life. So all the biblical sites, if this has connection to the Bible or heritage of Israel, is definitely my favorite.
Well, that is a very political response, but I do understand where you're coming from. Yeah, but you pulled the rabbi trick with me. You know, you answered a question with a question. That's Jesus used to do that too. Well, Isaac, thanks for joining us on the podcast today, and I want to just encourage people again. This Isaac will be our guide when we tour in December, and we are looking forward to spending those 10 days or so with him. I know that you are going to learn so much from him if you come on this tour with us. You can go to our website and find out information about the tour. All of the itinerary is there, the cost is there. There are some documents that will help you understand the different protocols that we will all have to what's the word I'm looking for? The different protocols that we will all have to sort of abide by. And we, promise to make it as easy as possible for you when you're coming. And it's going to be a great time together with myself, my wife Sharon, and Dr. Bill Morrow, and of course, the amazing Isaac Karasenti.
Thank you very much, Jeff. And I'm so looking forward to seeing you here soon. As I said, I have a wonderful feeling. This time, I'm telling you, we will see you here in Israel this coming December for sure.
Awesome. Well, we are looking forward to that. And Isaac, thanks for being with us. Say hello to Dina for me. And you guys stay safe, stay healthy. Take care.
Thank you. Same to you and to your family.